Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I've overcome the world. David is writing to let us know that even though we're in the middle of this, even though we don't always remember this, even though we're not always conscious of this, God is still providing for us. Psalm 23. And he points out that sheep won't easily rest or lie down unless they are free of four things. First off is fear. They must not anticipate any sort of threats or predators in the area in order for them to rest. The second thing is tension among other sheep, that they can't be at odds with the other members of the flock. They also need to be free of things like pests, flies, or parasites, or whatever else. And the last is hunger. Sheep won't actually lie down if they feel like they must find food. They stay standing. I told you that we are wholly reliant on God for literally everything, and God provides these things for us. He gives us relief from fear. He gives us relief from tension amongst others, annoyances, and even basic provision. God wants to provide those things for us so we can enter into seasons of rest. This doesn't solely rely on God's shoulders, however. To find rest in God means that we need to sometimes relinquish the things that actively hinder us. Biblical surrender isn't just a passive choice to give things up. It is an active decision to place our trust in his hands. And this can be really hard sometimes when there are a billion different things vying for our attention, and our chief focus is often our own self-interest. This also means, too, that if you know you are a hindrance to someone else finding rest, knock it off, okay? I love the scriptures say, if at all possible, be at peace with all men. Some of us, I think, are a hindrance to other people's restful mindset. And we need to get good with them and good with God so that way other people can enter in to some of these seasons of rest. So cultivate rest, but do this by allowing God to lead you in these seasons. This next phrase, he restores my soul. This is the third and last time you'll hear me say it, but an entire sermon could just be written on this line alone. He restores my soul. It is so meaningful. I love this idea of restoration. When I was in college, we had a family friend staying with us for a few years. He was preparing to be a missionary, and during the time that he stayed with us, he got this old beat-up Ford Mustang. I don't know the year, I'm not a car guy. But he got this old beat-up Mustang that lived in our driveway for the better part of a year. And it was amazing because he would spend all of his free time working on restoring this beat-up old car. And so I watched this transformation as it went from being this sort of ugly rust color to being this beautiful red with pinstripes. He did all the upholstery, he did all the engine work, and I learned something about restoration. It takes a really long time. It's a laborious labor of love. It is a process. Restoration does not happen by pulling in somewhere and saying, okay, be back in 5, let me know when you're all done. In a world of instant gratification, the thought of something taking longer than our attention spans to complete is horrifying. We don't like things that take time. Next time you're in line for literally anything, look at what people are doing. Everyone's on their phones because we're so afraid of having 10 seconds with our own thoughts. We're constantly occupied, and so when we come to God and we say like, okay, restore my soul, cool, and go. It doesn't work that way. We want to come to God and just say a prayer and bam, we're made new. But here's the truth. Some of our souls are these battered old things. Like we have years of rust and the engine it's making a funny sound. It's all the trauma and the drama of life has been wearing on us. And sometimes we come to God for a quick tune-up and he's saying, hey, you actually need something a little more intensive. God wants to take some of our souls and he wants to break it back down and build it back up with all the original good parts, all the things that he intended for us. But we have to be willing to give God an adequate amount of time to allow him to do that. So when David says he restores my soul, don't think of this as something that can come or can happen by coming on a Sunday morning, hearing a message, singing a few songs, and then go about your day. Restoration is a process. We need to give God the time to do what only God can do. The great news is that God is fully capable of the toughest of jobs. But we need to be patient. We need to trust him fully. We need to hand him the keys and say, okay, whatever you need to do. That term for soul, it means body and spirit. It's this combined word. So God's plan for our restoration is a comprehensive one. This means that sometimes it's his plan to restore us physically as well, but that is by no means a guarantee. And that's hard to contend with sometimes. Sometimes God has an equal plan for illness as he does for perfect health. And just like good health isn't a sign of morally upright behavior, and illness isn't an indicator of a broken or flawed spirit. Don't discount what God can do by showing us our limits. When we come to God for restoration, just understand that we are placing our trust wholly in his care, whatever that care might look like. And when we rest completely in his care, when we give God this ability to do what he will, I know that his good work will be done. And I know more importantly that when we come to God asking him to restore us, whatever work he prepares us for is the work that he intended for us. You will be fully equipped to do what God has in mind for you. He will not leave you incomplete. The next thing he says, he leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This phrase serves as a reminder of the point of all of this. He's not doing this to give anybody else glory. God doesn't care that your name is made great. He cares that his name is made great. So as we're preparing, as we're finding these seasons of rest, we should know that we're not doing this for our own vanity or our own pride. We are doing this so that the life that we live might give God glory. That wherever we go, we are his walking representatives. That God restores us and builds us back up, and he makes us new, and then he sends us out so that way we might be his emissaries, his ambassadors for his name's sake, to build the kingdom of heaven. That is the work that God equips us to do. It is not about anything else other than accomplishing his plan. So if you're here today and you're saying, yeah, I need to find the season of rest, I'm willing to give this, just know that whatever God uses that season of rest for, whatever he is planning in mind for you, is to build up his kingdom. So if you come to him with selfish ambition, if you come to him saying, God, I want to do something, I want to make a name for myself, you've come to the wrong God. He is concerned that we are building his kingdom and that we are his walking representatives. The next verse says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is a passage that is often used to comfort the dying and those at a funeral, which is appropriate. But there's just as much application to the living. You see, this is a reference to God's ability to protect and guide those who are in times of danger or distress. You may not inherently think of a shepherd and think of somebody that is like sort of tough or fierce or intimidating. However, I want to point you to what David says right before he stood toe to toe with Goliath, right? So Saul, the king, he's made this sort of call that if anyone could defeat this Philistine, this massive man who is calling out curses against Israel, I will take anybody. In fact, Saul was so desperate when David, a little shepherd boy, showed up, Saul looked at him and thought, I'm sending this kid to his death. But he was kind of a coward, and so he was willing to do it. And this is what David said, right? Talking to Saul, this is 1 Samuel 17, David said to Saul, your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him, and I struck him, and I delivered it from his mouth. And if he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and I struck him and killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. And David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. David just stood in there, he delivers this, drops the mic, and Saul's like, get him, tiger. And then by golly, he does, right? He does. He takes a sling, he takes an implement that was used to help direct sheep and keep away predators, and he kills a giant. So when David is writing this, that he's not worried for your rod and your staff comfort me, he's speaking from personal experience. He's like, nothing gets between the shepherd and the sheep. Nothing. We don't always remember God's ability to protect us when we're not actively in danger or we're not actively in conflict, but he does. Those valleys, by the way, the valley of the shadow of death, it looks so different for each person too. We might find ourselves in different seasons, in seasons of rest where we get to just breathe deeply. You might find yourself in one of those seasons where you're in the valley and you're not sure if the sun is still shining because you've been in darkness for a long time. It might be death, literally. It might be the death or the illness of someone that you care about. For some people, it's just grief prolonged. It might be not knowing where the next check comes from, or not having a safe place to go home to, or even uncertainty in your future that you want to control but can't. Those valleys look different for us. These things, by the way, they're not death to a Christian. They're the shadow of death. They're a mockery of death. They're the pretender. These are the things that we think are a big deal but aren't really, not in the grand scheme of things. We think they're a big deal now because we're walking through it. And I'm not discounting anybody's experience. So don't hear me say that, because sometimes we're quick to rush through that and we're just like, I'll be all better. It's okay, champ. Don't worry, the sun is still shining. And we just don't always allow people the opportunity to grieve in the moment, and that's okay. Some of us are walking through this valley, and some of us have been walking through this valley for a long stinking time. And we're exhausted. And we just want to know where the exit sign is so we can get the heck out of there. But this life is a shadow of the one to come. The trials are mere imitations of the things, but they have all been overcome. Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I've overcome the world. David is writing to let us know that even though we're in the middle of this, even though we don't always remember this, even though we're not always conscious of this, God is still providing for us.